Ben, floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me share my slides and please let me know if you can't see them.
Okay. Super, that works.
Excellent. Technology does work. Great. Thank you for the warm introduction. Sorry, I can't be there in person, but it's great to be able to join virtually. And as mentioned, I'm from Meta and I work in our Edge strategy team, thinking about where to position the infrastructure serving the people using our products and your customers. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how our network functions, how we serve that traffic, and a little bit about how we control that traffic. Sure, everyone is familiar, but when we think of Meta, we're thinking of the whole product family that the infrastructure we operate delivers. So that includes Facebook, that includes WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger, Reels, Threads, the entire product family. And when we're thinking about that infrastructure and really scaling that support the users, right now that's kind of 20 origin data center regions. These are where we have, no interconnection, but they're our own brick and mortar facilities. Then to support that, we have 80 edge POP markets. These are infrastructure we have in carrier neutral data centers where we do interconnect with networks. And then we also have our Meta network appliance, which is our in-network caching program, where we have 7,000 of those deployed globally. And all of this infrastructure is supporting, billions of people using our products. As of July, that's 3.27 billion using one of our products at least once a day. And so really thinking about that infrastructure, we're trying to answer two questions here that we get quite commonly from network operators. The first question is, why is my trace route going over the internet? Commonly we might put an M&A in, or we might have set some peering up, and that's a question we get. The second question we're looking to answer as part of this deck, there we go, a bit delayed. Why isn't my traffic being served over the peering or caching we just set up? So similarly, for network operators, where we deploy something, sometimes still content comes from elsewhere. So this is a common question we get. And so we're going to first talk a bit about serving traffic from the edge of our network. So under normal operation, we'll always try and serve traffic over the closest point of interconnect to where the person is using our product. So in the visualization here, that's hopefully showing okay. If we have users, in Europe, we'll try and serve those from our European infrastructure. But let's say our POP in Sofia in Bulgaria goes offline, then we'll move to the next nearest location, maybe Frankfurt, maybe elsewhere. And this happens automatically. And the reason it's so important for us to be close to the people using our products is we care about performance. And this chart here shows RTT to a country in Africa when we lost our infrastructure that went offline, and you can see that the green line, RTT jumped from around 50 milliseconds to around 200 milliseconds. And we know that's impactful. And so really we care a lot about performance, and we're really measuring and building for that. Unlike some other CDNs, our content actually falls into two buckets, and this will be important when we think about some of the infrastructure later. We have what we call static content. Really, that's our pictures, videos, which makes up about 80 to 90% of the product traffic. Static content can be served from M&As, the in-network appliances, and also our POPs. Then we have dynamic content, and this is really anything that needs global consistency. So if you think kind of news feed, if you think kind of likes, if you think kind of status updates and comments, and anything that needs that global consistency can only be served from a POP. So whether that's over a direct peering or IP transit, but this little bit of traffic has to come from a POP. And the other thing to call out here is normal BGP traffic engineering, so BGP2E, won't always interact with our CDN in the way that you might expect. And really, the call out here is rather than trying to prepend or adjust meds, if you need or if you're having a problem with traffic, reach out to us. You can reach out to me my email address at the end, or you can reach out to our NOC for engineering support as well. So if that's thinking about how the traffic we serve, now we're going to kind of think a little bit about how we control that traffic and control, the billions of people we're serving that traffic to. So I've talked about this already. We really care about performance, and we need to measure how close we are and how close we can be to the users we're serving and where best to serve them from. So we have an internal tool called Sonar. And what Sonar does is it sends thumbnails from multiple locations. So the really small images in the product family, and it serves those from all over the internet. And that allows us to measure RTT to the person using our product. And there you go, measure latency. So we can then calculate that automatically on not only where the first best place to serve from is, but also the second, third, and fourth. And then what we do with these Sonar inputs, we feed those into our global CDN controller. So logically, this is a software layer that sits above BGP. And this global controller takes in not only those latency measurements, but the capacity of the infrastructure, the health of the infrastructure, routing information, and it feeds all that for offline processing. And that offline processing is so we know where to serve the best location, but also should that fail, or should that be out of capacity, then also the next best 3 locations after that. That global controller then feeds our authoritative DNS servers. And then when users make a request for Facebook, let's say, so if they request www.facebook.com, they will get an IP address with a very low TTL, which points into the best piece of infrastructure. So what that means is different operators, depending on how we interconnect and how we serve that traffic, may get different IP addresses pointing them at different pieces of our infrastructure. And then we run our metros, so all of our peering sites we talk about globally as BGP islands. So what happens is when you get an IP address, that's the controller targeting you into a certain metro. The user traffic then goes into that metro following normal routing. And then we use BGP in that metro to serve traffic back out. What you can see here in the slide that's coming up, you've got the green arrows, which are DNS targeted in different metros. The blue is the user traffic coming into us, and red shows traffic going out. And what we can do is if a metro gets disconnected or becomes unavailable for some reason, we can change the IP address very quickly and direct users to a different metro, as illustrated with the different clouds on this slide. So it allows us really to continue scaling and building for failure and making sure we can still serve under failure. But we know that even with BGP islands, BGP is limited. BGP cares about longest prefix, local preference, AS path, and MEDS. And really, we've kind of talked about this already. We care about capacity. We care about if there's packet loss, latency, and really that's all wrapped up to we care about the service performance. We want users using our products to kind of have the best experience using them possible. In our POPs, where we have all of our interconnects, PNIs, uplinks, we still care about the utilization of those links. And so we don't want a full PNI because that packet loss and congestion will not deliver this experience we want. We have a tool called Edge Fabric, which is our per link capacity management in each POP, in each metro. And when a link reaches about 80 to 90% utilization, we inject more specific BGP routes on our edge routers, and that allows us to send traffic easily via alternative paths. And this happens again automatically. Doesn't need an engineer to get involved. This is the software layer, making sure we serve traffic in the best way possible. And if we think of that as a visualization, we've got our peering routers, we've got at least 2 of those in each metro, and we've got a link to a peer that's overloaded, it's above that kind of 80 to 90% threshold. The peering routers talking to the local controller all the time, providing signaling detail, kind of net flow, interface statistics, and all that relevant information. And that means the local controller then can say, oh, where should this traffic go? This link is full. I can use this transit as an option. It could be another peering link. And actually, it can inject more specific prefixes back to the router and then balance that that traffic across the transit and the peering links to give us that utilization below that kind of 80, 90% threshold. And so it's a really effective way for making sure that even after bursty traffic events, or if something happens that causes more traffic, we can still serve in a good kind of consistent quality controlled way. And so thinking back to those questions we kind of looked at the start of the deck, why is my trace route going over the internet? It could be our global controller reacting to a change. Maybe we've seen a failure. Maybe we've needed to send traffic a different way. It could also be the DNS resolvers being used. If a customer is using DNS resolvers as a different ISP, that could also potentially send traffic the wrong way. And really, if you're seeing that or you have questions, talk to us and we can investigate with you. Thinking about why isn't my traffic being served over all the peering or caching we just set up? As we kind of talked about, we have different types of content. We have that static and dynamic, where the static content can be served from both POPs and M&As, but dynamic can only be served from a POP. And so, the M&As can serve that subset of content, which makes up a lot of the traffic. But if you only have an M&A with us and don't have any peering, then when you trace route to www.facebook.com, that will go over your upstream, and then the page that gets returned will include URLs that direct users to the M&As to grab that content-rich files. Could also be popularity. If it's the first time the cache or the POP is getting a request for that content, we need to grab that from origin. That happens once, and then the equipment holds onto that content. And also the performance measurements. We talked about sonar. We talked about serving the small thumbnails from all over the internet, and that can still be something you might see. We need we need to work with operators, network operators. It's very much a partnership. We want to serve the packets locally and as close to you as possible. To do that, we have 4 methods of egress. Caching is one of our first methods, and that is for kind of qualifying networks. And to kind of talk through, it allows us to offload pictures and videos within your network and also absorb huge peaks and build resilient topologies. Thinking of some of those huge peaks, we've got the safety check feature, we've got live videos. These are all kind of events that can, generate traffic very quickly, but the M&As are able to very, very capably serve. Secondly, we've got local peering. We have a peering DB record that was talked about in the last presentation. We keep that totally up to date, and we peer at many IXs globally. We're able to support 10G or 100G, LR1, LR4. And one of our requirements is to maintain a peering DB record as well. And the reason that's important for us is actually our network automation relies on peering DB data. So when your operator updates their record and lists an IX, we use that information to support building our configurations. Then we've got regional peering, maybe for operators that operate outside one country and operate in multiple countries. We're able to then peer in multiple locations. Ideally, announcing us consistent prefixes keeps our systems operating as expected, and we still make those latency-based decisions. So if you operate in multiple countries and you interconnect with us in multiple countries, we'll still use the closest point of interconnect and speak to us about traffic engineering. Finally, we've got transit. Last resort, if we don't peer, or when P&Is become full, like we talked about for the local controller, but we're still aimed to deliver to the closest point to interconnect with you, where you plug into your transit provider. We still want to make sure we're getting that content as close to the people using our products as possible. And at that point, thank you for having us, and I'd like to ask any questions.